Hello, welcome to my channel. We all have a story. Thank you for being here, and if you're listening, I appreciate it. I hope you all are doing well. It's been a while since I've updated anything. I'm terrible at the whole YouTube thing. If there is an achievement award for the most underachieved YouTuber, it would probably be me. So, anyway, I just thought I would update you. Not a whole lot to update, I don't think, on what's going on with me. I mean, I'm still here, I'm still alive, I'm still doing my thing, I'm still living on my own. I go through periods of wellness and periods of unwellness. Next week, I will be taking another trip to Mexico. I kind of delayed it a little bit, hoping that I would hear from, well, I did hear from MD Anderson and Sloan Kettering up in New York. Whoa, hello, goodbye. Anyway, sorry. So, MD Anderson pretty much won't do anything with me because my tumors are too big and they want me to shrink them before they can do anything for me. Sissies. If I'm willing for you to get in there and work with me with my big old tumors, then what do you care? I guess you don't want to get sued. I guess that's their main issue. And of course, we need insurance to pay for some of it. And of course, insurance companies are jerks. So it is a strikeout for Sloan for MD Anderson. Still waiting on Sloan Kettering. They're still gathering information, which I appreciate. They're kind of doing the gathering of the information. Where with MD Anderson, I had to gather everything. I know they're probably waiting on stuff from Colorado and I meant all last week to call and update them or get an update from them, and I don't remember. I get busy and I don't remember things. So hopefully this week I'll remember to call. I think the problem is, I know when I tried to call Colorado, because they tell me, they're like, we'll call and we'll try to get the information that we need, but you might want to call them as well, which I do. And when I called, the number wasn't working. They said call back and call back later or whatever, and I never did. So still waiting to find out. They're the ones that I'm hoping will do surgery on my liver. They're the ones that will do surgeries that other places won't do. They're the ones that are willing to, cut out as much as 80% of your liver. And as long as you've got 80% that's healthy, or 20% that's healthy, they're willing, at least according to their website, to do surgery on your liver. But of course, I'm sure there's caveats to that, because there always are. If you don't follow what your doctor has wanted you to do, then all these doctors tend to stick together and be like, oh no, you got to go back and do chemotherapy and get your tumors shrunk and be half dead before you come to us. We don't want you to come to us when you're feeling good. Go be half dead first, and then maybe we'll work with you. That's the way I view their ideology. So if Sloan Kettering won't do the surgery, well, then I'm kind of up the creek without a paddle, except for, and then I'm going to have to go and find a way to shrink the tumors, and I'm not doing chemotherapy. So there's radiation options. Of course, I would prefer to do radiation that is localized just to my tumor. They told you before in this channel that it's late at night. I'm tired. It's been a long day. That they can go in with like radiation beads, and I was told they would inject it straight into the tumor, but apparently that's not what actually happens. Is they inject it into an artery that's supposed to go straight to the liver, and your liver has two blood sources. And first they have to do mapping to find out where the blood is going or coming from or whatever, so they can figure out where to inject this stuff. It does not sound pleasant. And then my oncologist was going through all the different things that could be done to try to shrink the tumors or kill the tumors. And he tells me that we can go and cut off the blood supply to the tumors. I'm like, well, that sounds like a good option. That sounds like you're not injecting me full of, cancer causing agents and stuff like that. So why don't I was like, tell me more about that option. He said, well, that's the lowest option on my list. I'm like, I don't care what your list looks like. I know what my list looks like, and my list looks like that sounds like that's pretty good. He's like, well, as long it has to be safe. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, pumping me full of radiation is safe? I mean, hello, we're not supposed to go into radiated areas because it isn't safe. So I like the idea of cutting off the blood flow to the tumors. How do we do that? Well, we're not there yet. So I'm going back to Mexico to get my next round of supplements. And, the Mexico thing isn't saving my life, but it is prolonging my life and making it better. Because when I kind of fluff off on my, on my supplements and my tonic, and I don't take it as regularly as I should, I feel kind of like garbage. But when I start taking it regularly again, and I start feeling better. So, especially my liver rescue, that one's important because I really think that one is doing me some real bit of good. That and the modified citrus pectin, I think, is keeping things from spreading. However, they did find something on my lung on my last CAT scan. They made it sound like they didn't think it was cancer, and they wanted to wait 3 months to check it again. I'm like, well, 3 months, if it is cancer, my lungs could be completely compromised. So, I don't know about that. But anyway, so there's that. There was something else I was going to tell you guys. Oh, I did start working as a transaction coordinator. I am bringing in a small amount of income. It's definitely not sufficient, but I'm still in training and I'm still learning. And here's the dilemma with that. Okay, so I'm working for this amazing lady who was my transaction coordinator when I was a real estate agent, and I loved her as my transaction coordinator. And so I'm kind of like her assistant. And her goal is for me to get trained up and to go out and scout out and get my own clients. And I told her, I was like, I know that's what I need to do. I know that's what I want to do. But here's the thing. I have stage 4 cancer. Who knows how long I'll be healthy enough to do this work. And I would hate to go and take on clients and become their transaction coordinator just to get really sick a few months or a year or two later. And she says, I thought that might be the case. So right now I'm in limbo with that. I'm still in training, so there's still time. I still have enough money to get through for a good little while. And with me bringing in some income from her, that helps to extend that a little further. So until I find out what's going on with my health, if Sloan Kettering will do surgery, if I can get these tumors shrink up enough to see if MD Anderson will do something with me, or if I'm just going to have to kind of go on the way I am as long as my body will hold out. My body's done a pretty darn good job. I'm pretty impressed with what God has given me. It's done, and I don't think it's just my body. I do think that Mexico and what Mexico has done for me has really extended my life. I told my oncologist, I said, if I hadn't been doing if I'd done chemo for life like they told me, and I feel like I'd for sure be dead by now, for sure. And he says, well, I disagree with you. And I'm sitting here like, whatever, dude. I was like, darn well that people that do chemo for life don't last 2 years in general. So I don't want to hear that. I know I'd be dead by now. And I think what I'm doing in Mexico has extended my life and extended my quality of life, especially. So I'm very thankful for them. And I guess that's about it. I probably need to get off here. My thing is telling me that my storage is low. So that means it's probably going to cut off. So I'm going to tell you goodbye, good night, God bless, and thank you for watching. And until next time, take care. And do all the YouTube things, like, subscribe, share, whatever. Take care. God bless.